Hi, my name is Jazmin. You can call me Jazz. And I'm here today to talk about transformation and remediation. Those are fancy words. But I've gone through personally a lot of healing remediation. And the reason why I use that word is because, remediation, because a lot of the time in Western medicine we can't use the word cure or mostly just cure unless something is proven scientifically to cure. Now, my background is I went to university for a master's in biology, an undergraduate degree in anthropology. I'm a boreal forest archaeologist. I don't practice anymore, obviously. No fun. It's a lot of work. But that's my educational background. I studied like phytochemistry, phytochemical methods in university. And it was really, really tough on me because I don't have the same worldview as a lot of scientists. And maybe some of my methodology doesn't seem scientific, but I think that's neither here nor there for any of this. Because my interaction with the plants is what helped me to recover my body and to hopefully age gracefully. And the teachings about food were excellent in my master's as well. Just reading all the research and everything. But where I really come from, like my perspective comes from, is an indigenous, I guess, perspective. And it's not really at the forefront of a lot of scientific query in general, because perspective should have nothing to do with science. However, we're all people. We all have perspective, and our biases are going to be part of our work, no matter what kind of work you're going to be doing. So, I decided that instead of sitting in front of my computer doing a talk, that I would take you to my most favoritist spot, brand new favoritist spot, where we can find a root called Acorus calamus variation americanus. We call it wike. It's a very spicy, hot root, and I would attribute a lot of my healing to this specific plant. And when I found this plant live, when another indigenous person showed me it, I knew it right away. Like, I knew the power of it right away because it's so potent, so lovely. It's in the muskeg, and it grows grassy, like kind of bulrush-like leaves, and they're really beautiful. And when you crush them, they smell very lemony, like they smell different than the root itself. So I wanted to bring you to this place to go see this root. It's about a 10-minute walk, but we have some time to be able to talk before that. So for myself personally, I went through a lot of sickness. I had local illnesses to Kenora, not Lyme disease, although that's very prevalent. But I had blastomycosis, and blastomycosis is a really awful fungus that grows beneath, kind of in wet conditions, and gets like a blue color. I have no idea what it actually looks like because I just breathed it in, and the doctor told me that it's just a lottery that you would get this fungus. And I got sick when I was about 21. I'm 35 now. And I was sick for an entire year. And I think that's when my healing journey really started. Because I have inherent knowledge of, like, you know, catching fish and preparing foods. I come from a Catholic family, so I have different traditions than some of the indigenous people here in the Kenora region, because my community is Norway House Cree Nation, although my mother is from here, the French Portage Narrows, and my father is Ukrainian from Winnipeg. They both met here and made a bunch of kids. And I'm the youngest of 5. But I have 54 first cousins and 250 second cousins. So we got a really big family with really long tradition, but we're a different kind of indigenous people. Not different kind, everyone's different, just so you know, from every community. Everybody's got their ways. But I like to mention my historical context, just so you know where I'm coming from. That's the anthropologist in me, trying to avoid bias in general. So I've gone through a number of sicknesses, and I have to ingest the plants. That's how I feel. Like I must learn the plants to help myself to survive. And fortunately, in the last 2 months, I've been able to acquire enough property to be able to start my healing center. Very exciting. I went to go see my teacher, Juan Flores, in Peru last year. And he told me, he's like, that healing center, it's going to happen fast. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. What does that even mean? You know, and a year goes by and I'm like, I got no healing center. And then all of a sudden, just fast. And I started getting our property, getting everything in order, getting my finances in order. And then we made our purchase, and it happened, like he said, very, very quickly. Very excited. 40 acres on Lake of the Woods. We call it Boom Bay. Boom Bay Integrative Healing. So keep your eyes out for that in the coming couple of years. It'll take us a while to build. But I currently live on this property, and it's located in a forest very similar to this one. This is a mixed forest. A lot of pine, coniferous, deciduous trees. Everything is such. And the most important thing when it comes to plants, it comes to learning plants, exchanging knowledge with plants, is that you must understand that they and us are the same. What's great about science is that we all have a common ancestor. If you are life, like life, I'm related to you. That's what we know, and scientifically we know that. That's a commonality in our understanding. So these are all of my relations. When you hear an Indigenous person saying all of my relations, they're everyone here. So not just plants, not just animals, fungi as well. And fungi are, I'm not a mycologist, I'm an ethnobotanist, but mycology is, it's very intense. Mushrooms are something else. They're very similar to us because they respire like we do. So the plants, they breathe in what I breathe out. And I breathe in what they breathe out. So we have a consistent exchange of knowledge. And I wanted to bring you to my most favoritist guy. Look at him. He's the only very large white pine in this region. And this is where a lot of people will put their tobacco offerings, kind of in this cavern. There's no tobacco there today. I don't put my tobacco down. I blow my tobacco like my teacher taught me. And I blow it because the exchange right away, like reciprocity, right away. The plant gets what I'm breathing out. It gets a smoke before I go and take it. How lovely is that? Because when I put tobacco down, it could poison the land, because the tobacco people use is Nicotiana tabacum, and the tobacco that I use is Nicotiana rustica, very, very strong. Considered, I believe it's considered a psychedelic, because it has a very powerful effect. So it's not necessary that we inhale it, even though I enjoy that. So instantly, when I'm on the land, my gratitude is there. My gratitude is here. I know that I am not separate from these guys, for one. And I know that my life is dependent upon them, all of them. And when they go through their cycles, I go through my cycles. We're very similar. So my love for the plants it's more than I could say, because it's love for myself. So I want to make sure that I care about the plants so that they can care about me. I want them to know that I'm aware that they're alive, because a lot of us walk through the world and we do not acknowledge life or even acknowledge these consistent exchanges that we're always making, no matter what. I breathe out, they breathe in. So, you know, biochemically, we could look at it as the air I breathe was produced by these plants. And the only reason why we're able to evolve into these grand beings is because of the plants, or because of the fungi. Fungi kind of freak me out. They freak me out, even though I make trades with Fort William First Nation in Thunder Bay for Amanita muscaria. We call it the mosquito. And the mosquito is a very, very powerful plant, or fungus. It causes a lot of energy. We have Anishinaabe stories about the mosquito. I believe I would quote Kiwe Tenekwe. She contributed a story during her time. She was a medicine woman who later into her 50s went to go study plant medicine in the university. So she became an ethnobotanist. But first, she's a medicine woman and a traditional person. And she passed away many years ago, but I've met people up north who've known this woman and who knew her when she was in the University of St. Paul. And I really admire these stories that people share about others and about the work that they've done. Because it's kind of like when I acknowledge the work of Kiwe Tenekwe, I'm acknowledging myself. See, there's always a cycle, constant cycle that we go through of teaching and learning, teaching and learning. And I use this concept, the teach-learn, where I could teach somebody about the plants that I know about, And then they could just come out with something that's just, I would never have thought about because I spent so much time with the plants. So it's really amazing that that a child at 5 years old would teach me something wonderful. But I'm always listening, you know, not just to elders, but to everyone, because I can't know everything. And if I could hook on to your knowledge, like we do with books or anything, if I can just sit there and listen in gratitude, then I would learn much more. So I feel like a big part of my learning is based upon this perspective that everyone has something that's valuable, extremely valuable. And so when I teach a plant, the next time I see the person that I taught the plant to, they come back with information to me. They're like, I found this plant growing and I can't believe it's here, and I was able to identify it and I found it, and I'm just like, wow, you guys are special. I really look forward to all those extra stories that people tell me that I would never have known. Never have known. So, today I want to show you this plant that makes me so thankful. This plant that makes me so thankful is Wike, right, as I mentioned. And it grows in the muskeg. And where we're going is really, really pretty. Really pretty. It's along a beach, and it looks pretty tropical. Like, maybe with no tropical anything, but I'm going to walk my way down there, and then I'm going to bring you guys with me. So just a moment. Okay, here we are. We are on Lake of the Woods. Really beautiful. And this beautiful beach that's behind us is where we're going. So, gotta protect our eyes, so I have to wear sunglasses. I didn't expect it to be so sunny here. But I'm going to show you where we're going. It's really beautiful. And the wind is breezy. And it's almost not fall anymore. Or almost not summer anymore. It's almost fall. So here we are. This is the muskeg. And this is the beach. Beautiful, beautiful places. Now, where we go to get this route isn't very far at all. It's all over the place. It's, let me give you a couple examples. So, probably familiar, you may or may not be familiar with bulrushes. Bulrushes have like a scoop. They're kind of scooped round like this, but Wike feels like a diamond. So let's get a Wike leaf here. And now it's already starting to turn, but you can see that there's a very prominent midrib, and it's fall, so it's going to be turning a little bit. But when we pull this grass and we crush it up, we smell it. It smells like lemon cheesecake. It's ridiculous. But before we pick the Wike, you have to make your exchange. So I make my exchange strictly blowing my mapacho, like my teacher, Juan Flores, taught me. This is how we start and stop diets. This is how we bless. And this is how I like to bless the plants. So here we are going to be picking. So I like to blow to these calamus plants. There must always be an exchange. Because if you don't exchange, you don't choose your sacrifice, it'll be taken from you. So, and the best story I have about that was a young man. We went out into a bog. I was taking a group of Indigenous people who were in treatment at a healing lodge down my road. And the young man asked me, "Hey, did you put your tobacco out for us?" I said, "I don't put tobacco out for you. You got to make your exchange because that's the way it works." Well, he didn't. He didn't make his exchange. And the universe took its exchange from him. Once he walked into the bog, he walked into a bunch of water, and then he lost his full pack of brand new Export A smokes in the swamp. So you make your choice, because we don't always have a choice. So be thankful. But back in a moment, we're going to collect some of this root, and then I'm going to wash it, and then I'm going to chat with you more about it. Okay. This is the Wike root here. And if you're a bit squeamish about anything in general, you might have a hard time digging yourself in these roots. But what's great about them is that you just click a little bit, because its rhizoids are really, really stuck into the ground. So I'm just pulling, not being as gentle as you'd think I should be. But the plants really like this idea of disturbing them, because as I'm disturbing them, I'm giving them space to continue to grow. So here's the root. We're going to wash that up, and I'm going to show you what that's like. Okay, we got our root, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's spicy, it's shiny, it's delicious. It's what we're looking for. Where did I put it? Right here. This is the Wike root. And this is why I'm not so afraid of many things, including the COVIDs. I think we're all going to get it anyway. Just biology, nature. Nature does this. Oh, hello. Leaves wave at me. And so I wave back. But this root is really lovely. It's the reason why I'm not afraid of anything. So I make my exchange so that I can have good healing for myself and for others. If this doesn't grow in your region, you can just give me a call and I'll hook you up. Of course. It's a very spicy root. I wish I could share, I could really share it with you, because it's so hot. So maybe I'll be able to, ship some in your direction. But I made my exchange before I even picked. And we're all very fortunate to be able to be given such power, and we have no idea. Like, if you had a place where there was no doctors, no pharmacy, what would you do? Well, I would just go to my original pharmacy, the forest, and I would ask my greatest friends for some help. Many compounds in the boreal forest are very stringent, drying. Just like when the pine needles fall on the ground, it makes a super drying environment. And all the plants that grow there have a measure of astringency with them. It's just the way it is. So the boreal forest floor is very diverse. Obviously not as diverse as the Amazon or rainforest on the island, but it has its powers. So if you were searching for medicine for urinary tract infection or for pain, for rheumatism, everything's there on the forest floor because it has this drying mechanism. And it seems that a lot of our illnesses are related to inflammations in our body. You battle inflammation the way Wim Hof does, just by breathing and by getting hot and cold, which I really enjoy, which is what's really great about the winter. And in the future, I'm going to do some videos about this winter, about the winter plants and the winter activities that we can do. A lot of healers won't pick in the winter time because the plants are asleep. But I'm going to tell you, they told me they don't mind helping us out. That if we need their help, they're there. Just wake them up a little bit. But a lot of healers would tell you, don't do that. Like a lot of healers would also tell you, only pick 60% of an area. But if I were to pick 60% of the area we were just in, I would have truckloads of weekday. It would be ridiculous. It's not necessary. I take what I need and I leave. I leave for the next person, because that's part of the exchange too, is that I'm leaving enough in case someone else comes and needs help. And if I pick 60% of an area and then somebody else comes in and picks 60% of an area's gone. It was gone 40% in. So really important to know where you're picking, to know who else is picking there. And I've showed a number of people that bog already. I don't mind sharing. It's a lot of work. So if somebody wants to do all that wonderful digging through a swamp, and they're not too shy to dig through a swamp, then go for it. That's what I say. So the whole fact that I could just stand here, walk here in the forest and show you what I'm doing without you having to be here. Now, I'm so thankful for that. I get to share so much more. And that's what the COVIDs has done, is that it has brought you along with me on one of my crazy ass adventures. And even though it's just a short walk, I think it's absolutely worth it. Even if you could remember one thing about this place, that would be just brilliant. And it would help all of us in the long run. Because that's what the exchange is about. It's about helping others because you're actually helping yourself. So I help others because I have been sick, I have been down, I have been out, and I have compassion for everyone because I have compassion for myself and I love myself. And you know, before the plants, I didn't. And I got sick because I wasn't loving myself or making these exchanges or even being aware that these exchanges are what is going to help my body and my heart to recover. My heart is recovered. And every day it recovers, every single day, because you can't predict what's going to go on. But if you make your sacrifice, if you're a child in the bush, and you have candy in your pocket, I tell children, leave a candy. Like, because you don't want to give it up, but just leave it, because it'll be a really good gift. And I said this to a young lady, she's 5 years old. I said, make your exchange. You put your tobacco down, and if you don't do that, because you obviously are 5 and you don't have tobacco, make a candy exchange. And she says, but Jazmin, what if I just planted a seed? And she caught me off guard. I didn't even realize that. See, she taught me. She taught me that the best exchange is the plant itself. So if I'm taking a plant, I better either allow it to reproduce or plant a seed in its place. I think that was the sweetest thing. And so it doesn't matter how old you are. You know exactly what's needed. Everything. We always know what's needed. Very thankful, very awesome. I'm glad I got to bring you guys out to my most favoritist spot to be walking. I walk here in the mornings. Not every morning. I like to say that I do. But I like to be with the land, as much green as that I can, because our season's changing. The leaves are turning a little bit yellow already. But by the time you guys get to watch this, you are going to be in October. And so, I don't know, in the area that you have the gathering, you may have a longer season than me. But the boreal forest, its season is perfect. And we're coming at the end of it, and it is very hot for this time of year. And we are super fortunate to be here, and we are fortunate to be with our bud. This guy, the white pine, wow. You know, back in the day, maybe 80 to 100 years ago here in this region, it was all clear cut. All of the islands, like if you drove through Kenora, you would see all the islands were cut down and booms were made. Booms are just logs that they float in the water. And the booms would get stored in these bays. And then the milling companies would come and take the booms and they would bring them to the mill. So the area where my healing center is in a muskeg. And it is a boom bay. So I named it Boom Bay Integrative Healing. And much of what we're going to be doing there on this 40 acres on Lake of the Woods is going to be regarding healing for others and alternative methods, Western methods. It doesn't matter. We're going to involve everyone to help us to heal, because we need everyone to help us recover. And my gratitude is so great that I could even have the opportunity to have a healing center. Because it wouldn't be mine, it would be everyone else's. I just technically own the land. But we all make it together, because we all make our exchanges with each other. I could talk forever, but I just want to say thank you, everyone, for listening. Listening about why it's important for us to make our exchanges. Why it's important for us to make our exchanges so that we can heal our bodies, so that we can be strong people for everyone else. Because we're not separate. None of us are separate. We are one thing. Us, the plants, the air, the ground, everything I put into my body, it's all equal. Because it's all the same. But with distinguishing features, like if I hear a bear in the bush, I'm glad I hear the bear, because I do see the difference between me and it, and I give it respect by avoiding its path, and that's the best way. we just try to avoid it, even though I know I'm not separate from a bear. Those distinguishing factors, they're the things that keep us safe. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you so much for having me at your talk. I think it's lovely, and it's my most favoriteest thing to do in the world. And these are like some of my first videos that I've ever done, because I just learned how to edit. So thank you for having me, and hopefully I'll see you again, or you'll see me. You can get a hold of me. I have a Facebook group, Boom Bay Integrative Healing, and you can email me at boombay.healing@gmail.com, and hopefully I'll see you in the stars.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jazmin, and welcome to the set, Jazmin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of Mushroom City Art Festival this year. As I was sharing with staff and other organizers, your talk really centers so strongly with the theme of our festival, which is reciprocal restoration. And so the journey, the walk that you take us on, you really discuss reciprocity and many facets, scientifically, and the in and the out breath, but also the spiritual expression of that too. And I was wondering if you could say more about that, and more about your relationship with Maestro Flores.
Well, when being thankful for life and your life and walking through life, I don't like to separate spirit and physicality. Like, it's one thing to me. So I was only able to learn that because of Maestro Juan Flores, and because of the help of Jim Sanders as well. I would have never realized my real place in the world without it. I was very thankful for my life after, working with ayahuasca and working with all the plant medicines and going on dieta. And every day my gratitude grows, and every day my faith grows as well. So I have very deep faith in that root that I was talking about. I need it. I need it all the time. I need to care for it and be with it and plant it and grow it, and even plant it in my own, I guess, bay, my own muskeg. I did find a piece where it was floating around. I guess it's hiding somewhere in there. It takes a lot of work to get through a muskeg, but yeah, I owe a lot of what I am to Maestro Juan Flores. Yeah.
You're saying muskeg?
Yeah, muskeg, like a bog, or it's
Okay.
it's kind of a pond.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, I was wondering. I wasn't sure either.
Muskeg, the root word is like mushkogeg, like it means medicine garden.
Oh.
In the Algonquian languages, I guess you could say. Yeah, it refers to medicine specifically. So, and now I have a medicine garden of my own. It's very exciting for me. Not a lot of people would want a medicine garden like I have.
Why is that?
Because it's muskeg. It's it's flooded land, and it doesn't look as pretty as some people would want, but it's very advantageous for to have a healing center in a medicine garden. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Would you say more to us about Boom Bay Integrative Healing Center and your plans for starting this and its inspiration?
Yeah. So I just recently acquired the property to be able to start the healing center, and it's about 40 acres, really close to Kenora on Lake of the Woods, Ontario. And Lake of the Woods that actually connects to the US as well. So there's a portion of our lake that's American, and we can just drive across the lake and go almost anywhere from this point. Now, Boom Bay, I incorporated it at one point, and now I'm going to be renaming it. Very excited for that. But that's not the important part. The important part is the plants that actually exist here. And it's a meeting of 3 tree regions. We have, cactuses and black spruce. It's very diverse place here in Kenora, very diverse. So there's not just the mushkogeg. There's also, I guess, summery plants, prairie plants, maple. It's a wide range of plants to know in this area.
Wow. In the boreal forest.
Mm-hmm.
And you're an ethnobotanist in boreal forestry. And would you say more about that dual relationship of being a scientist and traditional ecological knowledge and the relationship between the two?
Well, I really had to develop the relationship within myself, because to be a scientist, and the school I came from was very rigid, very scientific, very thorough. And I was trained as an archaeologist in my undergraduate degree, so I'm a boreal forest archaeologist as well. And it's really hard to come to a point where the West meets traditional knowledge. But we all can agree upon the plants. The plants are the thing that bring us together. So if I talk about, the chemical compounds of, say, Artemisia, and then I talk about how, smudging would actually clean your body, I can speak about it scientifically, and I can speak about it spiritually as well. It's really tough to integrate the two, but I think we're doing really well with it, because we're using traditional methods, and I can use science to be able to explain a lot of what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a tough subject.
Yeah. And I feel it makes it more understandable, especially with more, I can speak on my experience being in North America, it makes it more real for people to understand when you can explain the science behind it, right?
Yeah, because we're essentially colonized by science. That's our Western mind, and that's why I felt that I needed a master's degree to be able to continue my work, kind of blending traditions. So that's why it's Boom Bay Integrative Healing, because we use everything. I don't even want to divide Western medicine and with the medicine that we're using, because it's all for helping humanity.
Good point.
It's all for us. So we have to be thankful, because I'm pretty sure I'm alive because of Western medicine. So I wouldn't talk down about it.
Sure.
But there's a place where we need to bring that traditional ecological knowledge together.
Absolutely.
And it's welcomed and invited, and it's really hard for us to get our minds around. But I'm going to work toward it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a question from the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, Spacey Soapy, I think I know who that is. What is the spicy root called? Can it be grown at home? And how do we contact you about your offer to ship it?
Okay, you can, I think my email popped up on the screen, boombay.healing@gmail.com. You can email me for that. But the spicy root, and I brought an example. This is one of the roots that I picked that afternoon, and it's called Acorus calamus variation americanus. Now, there's always lots of questions about this, because all the research is wrong about it, because people think it's calamus root. And calamus root, as a scientist, I would say it has 3 times the amount of DNA that Wike root, americanus root has. So this is like a diploid species. It doesn't have a carcinogen that is known to be in the calamus, across the pond. In Poland, you would find it. And it is kind of infiltrating our species here. And one day they're gonna hybridize, I assume. So hopefully we will still have clean wike without that concerning carcinogen in it.
Okay.
So I ship it. If anybody wants any, just email me.
Cool.
I don't charge for the medicine.
It looks like we're showing your personal email on the screen right now. So.
Oh yeah, that's fine too. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it'll still get to you. The order will get to you.
No matter what. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then another comment question. Sophie says, thank you for your wisdom and taking us on a lovely walk. And I think there's a comment related to your walk isn't leaving candy in the forest littering, though, at least when it's in a wrapper.
Well, I mean, when I think candy, I'm thinking a rocket in my head, like these little candies, tiny little candies, and you would pull one out and you would throw it. It is littering, of course. I would hope that people would have enough sense in their own head to gather that you would keep your candy wrapper and you would put candy out.
Thanks for clarifying.
The plants, they'll love that candy because it's instant energy.
Cool. And Robin, I think she's got some more questions for you.
I do have more questions. Would you tell us, we talked a little bit about Bombay. Would you tell us more about how it'll run so people will go there for longer retreats, integrative healing, so using Western and traditional healing? Maybe what Bombay will look like when it's fully running. And then also, I guess maybe your larger vision for, I don't know, what healing centers might look like globally. Like what's Bombay tying into? What's this larger picture?
Well, in our country, there is a number of people who have been given exemptions to be able to deliver ayahuasca and ship ayahuasca, import and export. So I hope to go toward having a center where I could deliver ayahuasca ceremonies as I was trained. And so it would be minimum 10-day dietas for people to come in, and they would stay in their own little, we call them tambos, but they're little cabins. They would be fed twice a day, if you're going to be out in a cabin, or you can be out in a common dormitory. It's very similar to Mayan Tuyaku. That's where I would say I would borrow all of my framework from. And then we wouldn't just use Amazonian plants, because the teacher makes concentrates that we can bring to Canada. They're not illegal, but we can bring these concentrates, or we can brew it ourselves. So that's kind of my forte. In South America, they call it Polero, but in the northern communities, if you're somebody that works with the plants, usually you're referred to as a stick doctor. I'm not sure of the Ojibwe translation, what that would be in Ojibwe, but stick doctors, we work with barks. So a Polero is a bark worker, I guess. So we would peel bark. I would teach people about the trees. All the trees would be identified so that people could walk around and look at the trees that would be identified as, poplar or birch or black spruce or balsam, and then have the traditional names as well, the Ojibwe names, because I'm in Ojibwe territory right now. And people are very strict on their Ojibwe teachings, but I would like to distinguish myself from other people that study medicine in my area. They're part of the Grand Medicine Society. And the Grand Medicine Society, there's a specific way to learn plants. I didn't learn like that. I drank ayahuasca, and then for some reason, I'm not sure, I was downloaded with all the information. There was considerable downloads. And if you asked my husband 10 years ago what I knew about plants, I wouldn't know boo. But because of the medicine in general, the ayahuasca, it just opened my mind. It didn't just open my mind, it opened my heart so big. And my heart is actually the thing that's learning. And so there was something inherent inside of me and in my history that knew the plants. And this is kind of, you know, as a scientist, it's really hard for me to say, but these are my personal dreams and visions. And now I can back them up with science. So it's pretty excellent and unexplainable.
Yeah.
There was one medicine man here that said I was kind of, he found that I was going against natural law, because natural law says that I'm a little too young to know what I know. And I think he understood that I went through a lot to get the knowledge. Like, I had to go through substantial dietas, substantial work with the plants, with the psychedelics. It's altering. It's quite altering. Like, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. Absolutely not.
Wow. I mean, I hope not, right? So for folks that may not know what dieta is, like, it's a diet where you are taking in just that plant, and each plant is going to work with you and express to you what it needs to express. I met someone who did a tobacco dieta.
Woo.
Yeah. And when I shared that information with people who know what dietas are, they're like, wow, I didn't know that was that was a thing. So I learned, I took in so much from her, from what she learned and was sharing with me from her experience. So yeah. Yeah,
it's one of the first teachers that you get in when you go on a dieta. You avoid salt, sugar, and grease. So I got pretty thin, because it turns out I was just made of whatever, you know, fast food I was eating at the time. Sure. So now I'm built of good muscle.
Goodness.
Yeah, it took a lot of work to really try to avoid sugar. We have such an addiction on sugar.
Man.
But once you avoid the sugar and then you just drink the plants will tell you whatever. They'll tell you anything. And it's just a vibration. It's just a pattern that you're picking up.
Sure.
And I believe it's electromagnetical as well, but I can't corroborate that ever. But I say there's things that are going on that we can't identify.
Sure.
Wow. Well, and you have already, but would you say more about tobacco as a teacher, and specifically the Mapacho offering that you make?
Yeah, in my mind, when I blow tobacco, like, other than its spiritual qualities with blowing the Mapacho for our thankfulness and our gratitude, I'm blowing the Mapacho before I pick the plant, because scientifically, I know that the plant is inhaling what I exhale. So it gets to have a smoke before I pick it. Like, it gets to actually partake in that medicine, because that's its method of ingestion. So when I put the tobacco down beside it, it's got to wait quite a long time to get that smoke. So it's kind of like I put myself in that plant and be like, well, are you going to kill me? Give me a smoke. Like, that would be lovely. But it's ultimate gratitude. I learned the gratitude of Mapacho when I went for my very first, month-long dieta in Peru. The teacher gave me a very powerful ceremony, and there was only a couple of us in the ceremony, 2 of us at the time. And I know he told me not to smoke all the time. He said, it's not good for you. Don't smoke all the time. And it's hard when you got 100 Mapachos in your pack.
And they're so good. It's like actual tobacco. It's not a cigarette. Yeah. It's tobacco. Yeah.
But it's, 14 times stronger than tobacco, like the plant that's local to commercial users. But it was when I sat in the ceremony with him and he handed me a Mapacho. He lit it for me and he gave it to me. And you don't normally inhale this stuff, really, right?
Right.
But I took it and I inhaled it so deep inside me. And then when I blew out, I'm like, oh, it's medicine. I had an ultimate realization. I'm like, oh my God, this is medicine, because it was balancing me out. And that's what it does. And that's why I like to, when somebody starts a dieta with me, and I just had somebody 2 weeks ago start a dieta with me. I gave her tobacco tea right off the bat so that she can just clear everything out of her body. And she needed to do a lot of clearing, and she did really great. She didn't anticipate what was going to happen in the ceremony. And she puked, that's what happens when you drink tobacco tea or you have smoke too many cigarettes. And she was just bright and shiny afterward. My example for her was, sometimes 7 a.m. I get the girls to come over, we drink tobacco, and then we go for brunch and go shopping, back in the old world. That's what we did. We drink tobacco and then go shopping. Yeah, tobacco is very powerful. It's the first teacher. It's the grand teacher. And even in Canada, all across North America, Central America, South America, this is our medicine. And it needs to go back to its rightful place instead of a place of abuse and death.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be there. You gotta have a little discipline and, lay off every now and again. It's okay.
Well, it's been pushed onto us in so many ways.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So I know you definitely identify as healer and also as a medicine woman too. Yes, you're a medicine woman.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I see you as. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say more medicine woman. I have a hard time with the connotations in the region I'm in. If I say medicine woman, then they think that I'm in the Grand Medicine Society.
Sure.
But up north, I think they call them mashkikikwe. Like they say medicine, like medicine garden women.
Oh, that's you.
So it makes more sense to me. And my family's from a northern community, and they're very Christian. Aren't part of the Grand Medicine Society. So I have an easier time in communities that are Christian just because of the way I was raised as well. So I try to integrate everything as much as I can in a respectful way. You have to be very respectful when talking about medicine because it can kill you. Right? And people think it's frivolous, but it's very effective. So be mindful.
Absolutely. So we have a few minutes left here with you. If there's any more questions from the audience, we can take another question from you if you've got one. And I just want to thank you so much for being here today, Jazmin. I've learned so much. I know I've been saying before, like usually when we have the festival at Leakin Park at a place, I am too distracted with all the people. I got to talk, I got to mingle, I got to move around. And I never prioritize sitting down and taking in all the good information that I'm trying to bring people to sit for. So it's been really great learning from you today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful. And to talk about dieta in general, I think it'll heal everybody if everybody would do it. But it's not the easiest. Not easy.
But and what you talked about earlier, talking about with a relationship to something, and you answered it right away. Well, first, it's the relationship I have with myself.
Yeah, of course.
And that's something that I've really kind of been listening to myself. It's when you understand yourself is when you can really understand others. And it's that hard work that you've been talking about all along.
Yeah, it's hard work in your mind, just clearing things out. It's really important that you clear yourself to be able to hear, because things are talking all the time. There's information and patterns that are out in the world that we don't ever catch because we're too
distracted,
too occupado.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we're not.
Word occupied sounds occupied, but it means busy, right?
Yeah, you are busy. Yeah, that's right. You're very, and we talk to ourselves all throughout the whole day. I get tired of listening to myself half the time. And sometimes you go into a meditative state, not on purpose, but because you're like, oh, I just need out of here.
Right on. Well, anything else you want to touch on before we let Jazmin go, Robin?
I think that's everything.
Okay. Yeah. Oh man, so blessed to meet you today. Thank you for your time. I'm going to be following your journey, and I'm coming to see you.
Oh yeah, we need to come up. We'll visit Jim, and we'll visit you.
Yeah, and I say come in the spring or in August.
In August. Okay.
August is really great. Just the mosquitoes are less.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.